Hi, everyone. Welcome to Statehouse Futures. This is so exciting. We are thrilled to have all of you here. Hundreds of people RSVP'd for today's strategy session and policy conversation. We are so excited about the amazing programming, the speakers, the participants, and the lineup that we have set up for you. For those who aren't familiar or who are new, my name is Amanda Litman. I'm one of the co-founders of Run for Something and Run for Something Action Fund. We're one of the sponsors of today's event, along with the Democracy Policy Network. Before we get started with the amazing lineup today, I just want to remind you, whether you are a candidate running for office, you are a lurker, you are a staff, you are a strategist, you are a funder, if you end today with one big takeaway, I hope it's this: that the work that you are doing on the state and local level, whether it's as an activist, a donor, a volunteer, or a candidate, makes a huge difference in people's lives. I know it is really easy for people who are on Twitter or for, folks reading the headlines every day to think all of the action is in DC, or lack of action not happening in DC, such as it is. But the folks on this event today know that meaningful progress that really changes and saves and makes people's lives better happens on the state and local level. It's why Run for Something and Run for Something Action Fund exclusively work with candidates running for state house, state senate, city council, school board, library board, and more, and why we are thrilled to have this conversation. But the kinds of policies and issues that we can move forward in the branches and centers of government that make a difference. You know what they say, the closer down the ballot, the closer to your home and to your heart. I am thrilled about today's events. I'm so glad that Run for Something Action Fund was able to be part of this. I will say, if you are watching this and you are thinking, maybe I might want to run for office one day, or you hear a conversation about a policy that inspires you to think maybe I could do that as part of a city council or a state house one day, know that Run for Something is here for you, and we want to help you. We are having a panel later today, I think later this afternoon. I don't know about the time zones, 4:30 Pacific maybe. I don't know. It's in the lineup. Join. We'll talk about running for office no matter where you are, especially if you're in a conservative district. If you're thinking about it, go to runforwhat.net. I'll be back at the end of today's event to remind you of this. But in the meantime, I hope you have an incredible time at today's Statehouse Futures Summit, our strategy session, that you learn, that you meet interesting people, even though we're online, and then you come away with new and excited energy to work at the state and local level, where it is so much more meaningful and sustainable, and, if I'm being honest, impactful than anything happening that they're showing on MSNBC or CNN these days. With that, I want to introduce the other sponsor of this event, from the Democracy Policy Network, the Executive Director and Head, Pete Davis. Thanks, Pete.
Thank you, Amanda, and everyone at the Run for Something Action Fund. Amen to everything you said. We'd like to echo that. I'm Pete Davis, Director of the Democracy Policy Network, or DEPN for short. We have such amazing panels coming up today. We have policy panels on public banks and green buildings and worker ownership and more. We have strategy panels on messaging and winning and coming together to fight in co-ops and caucuses. We also have hundreds of state legislators and staffers and advocates in the audience today. I think this might be Statehouse Futures, you are now part of the biggest gathering of state policy and strategy for deepening democracy this year. And that's what we see this summit as part of. It's a project of deepening American democracy, expanding more power to more people in more ways, seeing freedom not just as liberty from government and power, as so many try to force us to see it as, but also to see freedom like Martin Luther King saw freedom. His quote is, "Freedom is participation in power and government." This is about making it easier for people to co-create our shared world, to have a voice in the forces that govern our lives. And all of that sounds really pie in the sky, but what never ceases to give me hope is the fact that the nation we imagine, the deeper democracy that everyone here pines for, already exists in the present today. It's just in pieces, scattered in various experiments and rebellions and countercultures in states and cities across the country. The task is to foster these alternatives, to grow them, to spread them. Tiny, even fledgling alternatives in a state or a city across the country are not like a drop in the ocean. That's our faith here today. They're more like seeds planted in the cracks of the concrete of society today that could become a forest one day. A piece of life, a spark of democracy in a deadened world is not a tiny thing. It is everything. That's what we believe in here today. But again, this is all easier said than done. It's easy to talk about in the abstract, but we need concrete policies to deepen democracy. We need concrete strategies and tactics to gain the power to champion these policies. And we need people like you in state houses across the country to be those champions. This summit is a celebration of those policies, those strategies, and those people. And I hope you come away with inspiration and, more importantly, useful takeaways of policy and strategy to continue this movement in the states.